I'm Sonia Kriplani. I'm a serial media tech entrepreneur who's always focused on social impact. My whole focus is about enabling micro, small, and nano MSMEs through education engagement and e-commerce. I've been a platform builder. I focus on the underrepresented regions, the lesser known gems, empowering them to become globally competitive. I think it's time that we believe that we have to be a digital democracy. So I started my journey in 1999, designing my first omni-channel platform, what you call multi-site platform, for Asia's design and craft entrepreneurs. 2018, I kind of pivoted into the unknown planet, which highlights Asia's hidden gems and sustainable hospitality and experience curators, so we can grow them locally together. And at the same time, we can create Asia-wide support for safe, sustainable, and social travel. I Transform Care is another project that I'm working on, which is a preemptive wellness platform for affordable and accessible wellness, especially in the remote regions. But I'm seen to be better known as an award-winning journalist and investigative filmmaker. My pen and my camera continues to shine the spotlight on urgent stories, bringing forth burning issues. For my work, I'm proud to be honored with 2 Khans, 2 MIPDOC Awards, 2 Dada Saheb Phalkes, and 52 prestigious film awards. It really touches me and it gives me the strength to carry on in what I'm doing. So today I use both technology as well as film to kind of power the last mile. Because today it's our canvas, it's a blank canvas to build what we want from Asia. I continue to mentor initiatives like the Deshpande IIT startups, Wiki, Wise, and I have a development zone called An Artist Within for upskilling Asia's startup and creator economy. With that, I welcome another change maker, a fellow change maker who's been making the same kind of tracks in the sustainable tourism and the craft and creative entrepreneurship space. Welcoming Julie Kagti, I'd like to present a small film on her, which kind of shows you her vision, her mission statement. Yes, we're good to go. Can we play the video?
I was born in a place called Digboy, and later my father, he moved nearby to start his own tea garden. With my parents, I had a very colonial upbringing because it was the tea culture, the clubs, the picnics, the parties, the high teas. The other part of my childhood was spending time with my grandmothers. From them, I understood a lot of the local traditional culture. She used to make us accompany her to the temples. There was a lot of tantric practices, and she used to have women practicing tantra come home. We were very fascinated by these women. Morning, my name is Julie Kagti. I grew up in Assam, and winter is the best time to be in the North East. Blue skies, clear water, weather's good for camping. My father loved the outdoors. Travel used to be fun. Sometimes my sister and me were left behind in the villages to play with the children. It was my first peep into the tribal world. But when I was growing up, they were called the hill people or people who lived by the river. It was like going into a wonderland, climbing up into these houses, all made of bamboo. As a child, it was very fascinating. The thatch huts, and a lot of them were on stilts. The homestead of a tribal home were very interesting because they had everything there. It was like a small ecosystem, a mini ecosystem. They'll have 2 gardens, which one is the vegetable garden and one would be the fruit garden. They will have their own granary. And there'll be women weaving below the huts on stilts. There'll be little children and animals running around. They introduced us to a lot of games like, with stone, jump over trees, and we were exposed to that world. When I went to the villages, I was very, very fascinated by the bamboo work. Because every village you go to, they used to make their own baskets. And as a child, to be exposed to that was really nice. And after school, when I chose what to do, I decided that I will study design. They're a combination of my traditional my traditional knowledge that I came from and what I imbibed helped me shape up my design career, and it helped me choose between textile and fashion I think I fall somewhere in between, and then as a fiber artist. I was doing my textile work, and I had a studio and I had a shop, fashion. I was doing a lot of fashion products and home products at that point. And I wanted to take a break because my children were very small. I'd spent some time in the East traveling and looking for weaves and weavers and tribal communities to see where they were at and if I could work with them. We are like the guardians, we have to decide what are we going to do with this. Are we going to let it die out or are we going to preserve it? For me, right now, I think to preserve it, to keep some sort of a document, to keep it, in case the next generation or the generation after that want to take it up and really help people who are already practicing this craft. And during one of my travels, I went to Zero, which is based in Arunachal Pradesh, and it's the home of the Apatani tribe. And I'd gone back after maybe 15 years or so, and I got a big shock over the change that had happened in Zero. I remember Zero from my childhood as villages with beautiful thatched roofs and very rural. But the town of Zero had just, it was still a village, but it had become, completely urbanized, full of concrete and tin shacks. And I'm like, oh my God, what happened here? And what was fascinating was to see these paddy fields at such a high height and surrounded by thatch huts. There were a lot of small farms. Some were growing rice, some were growing fruits. Women with their tattooed faces and these beautiful baskets they used to carry. And men with these hats, it's like a headgear actually, not just a hat. And it's all carried down. The big knives that they carry to go hunting or go into the forest to cut wood. And it was then I realized tribes also want their lives to be convenient. That's when travel came to me. Why don't I, because I know this region, why don't I look at doing travel and showing people this way of life before it completely disappears, which it will in another few years, So this is a region that very few people had explored. There were anthropologists who had come there. And I realized then that, there's so much to offer. If you just look at Zero, how many people actually do a cooking class? How many people actually spend time with the tribe? Going trekking with them on the hillsides, what do they forage there? How have they managed to live at such a high height? I felt that will be good to address through tourism. It is spectacular. The views, every corner is picture perfect. And you'll see yaks wandering, you'll see ice peaks in a distance. In a distance, this white prayer flag, the Buddhist prayer flags. And it just adds to the mystery surrounded by clouds. In that region, a lot of flora, fauna, because you're going from the tropical ferns, the bamboo, right into the snowline and beyond. And also it's a state with not that much population, so the greenery stands out, the landscape stands out a lot more. Bring people there who wanted to not only come to a beautiful place, but also understand the lives of the people living there. Similarly, when you're near Tawang, you're going to a village like Kitpi, you go to their home, the stone walls are that thick, to keep the cold out. And you'll see in the courtyards, a woman will be weaving, you can actually join her. Sheep wool weaving happens. And they also use a lot of eri. Eri is it's indigenous silk that is grown in the Northeast and reared there. So there's a lot of weaving of that happens. To their home and offer you tea by the fireside. If you look at Assam, I was just like, there's so many master craftsmen. Let's spend time with them, with the Mishing tribe, for people. I love their colorful lifestyle. Their food is very interesting. I love the colorful weaves. Why don't you spend half a day with them? Learn something, make something of your own with them. Dye your own Aries scarf. Taken my first very tour I did was a Chota Assam tour. Okay, this was in the winter of 2017. There are a lot of water bodies in Majuli, so we decided to walk along and find a spot and make a picnic of it. Other women came and everybody started talking. Invariably, the topic came up like, where are you from? It's very easy for me to communicate with the women because it was in Assamese. As all Indian women, when we get together, the first conversation leads to family, who's married, how many children you have. And two of my guests, they said, no, we are not married. So one the other woman, she was slightly older. She turned around and said, "Hey, how come you don't have a husband? My son's looking for a wife. Maybe I should put you together." It's those little moments of chitter chatter that comes up, and we all had a good laugh. We went with them. Other interesting thing in any of my tours is that we arrange for you to actually have a class. It could be to learn a song, to dress up. As I think that is something from my childhood that I really liked, was to dress up, in the costume, the headgears, to try those jewelry. It's all of that. It really makes your visit to the village, it's so special. As a traveler, you want to collect these moments and things, which are your own, which you've got your hands dirty. So that's what I wanted to bring to the palette, of tourism, is let's offer things where people actually can immerse into the landscape, into the community, and pick up that one moment which you can truly say, yes, I was there, I did this. What do you do with people and people's perception of the region? How do you overcome the perceptions that people have of the region? Or they were all, the roads are very bad, there's no place to stay. Oh, they're all Chinese, they're chinkies, they all only eat meat, they're savages. We actually eat a lot more greens than anybody else. There's a lot of vegetarian food available. What would I do? There's always conflict in the region. There was all these questions that had to be addressed. We are not Chinese, we are an identity of our own. We are not one state. If you say the North East, we are not one state. We are 8 states, 8 separate states with separate identities. And in that also there are a lot of tribes that have their own identities. We had to do a lot of research on, how would I reach out to my audience? How would I overcome these challenges? At that point when social media opened up, it really helped in a big way, because we could portray the real sense of the place, through pictures, through write-ups, through actual interviews, meetings, conferences with people, and a lot of brochures and blog writing in our website to overcome all this. These challenges, I think, I don't think they've all gone totally. They're still there, and we're still working at it. North East tourism is developing. I think we still have a long way to go. We still have to see the kind of footfall we want to see. I don't think we've hit the target that we can achieve. North East tourism is developing. I think we still have a long way to go. We still have to see the kind of footfall we want to see. I don't think we've hit the target that we can achieve. Having said that, I find that what is the impact that's going to happen? What do I feel tourism should be in the Northeast? I feel it should. We are at a stage where we're still developing. We should focus on what's sustainable. Our homestay sustainable? Are you using solar? People people who are differently able, are they able to access the sites? Are they able to come and stay? Are we thinking of them? Are we including them when we're designing the spaces, when we're designing itineraries? Can we include them? other thing I feel is that, we are at a stage now where we can start training our guides, of local communities. How much are we spending time on doing that? I feel all of this will help us become a very sustainable tourism model, which can happen in the Northeast. And I'm looking forward to that happening.
Just a brief of what Judy is doing in terms of how she's blending both her passion. So Curtain Call Adventures is one of the finer, more refined, curated experience creators, and she has a commitment towards transformational tourism, offering sustainable, immersive tours that not just benefit the traveler, but also empower the local and tribal communities. I think her ace card, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, her biggest ace card is that she has the inside access to the locals of Northeast. So she can actually take you to a very unexplored part of the Northeast. What she likes doing and what I see from her video was that she enjoys involving the travelers in the local lifestyles, culture, and she respects and creates a certain preservation, a cultural preservation through that. Besides promoting the artisans and creating an experience on cuisine, she makes sure she does a balance of authentic experiences with the rural communities and still a more balanced, I think it comes from her tea culture lifestyle, where she creates a special event for a more sophisticated palette. Now, the biggest thing that Judy has to deal with, and I think you and I are here to support her as she deals in this, is challenging misconceptions. Julie has faced it herself, and she sees others still continue to face it, where people have the common misconception and stereotypes about Northeastern cultures. It's time that we break this through a conversation, through a very private, in-depth conversation, as Julie takes us through those gorgeous mountains that we saw, those misty hills, those glacial lakes, those wildlife sanctuaries, actually the wildlife reserves, not sanctuaries, the monasteries, through Meghalaya's culture, and introduces us to the local tribes. Let us unbox what travel through Northeast is and how we can actually make sure that as travelers, as global travelers, we bring our discerning self to create value for ourselves and for the locals of Northeast. So Julie, please, thank you for sharing your very personal journey. And I'd like you to start a kind of introducing where exactly did this all start from? I mean, what was the beginning point, like you said? Give us an understanding of what an experience with Julie Kagti would be like.
Thank you. It'll be my pleasure. First of all, I'm very grateful that you invited me to this platform, and it's my honor that I'll be taking all of you through the Northeast. So let's start. Yash, can I have the first video, please? Now imagine on Christmas Day, walking through a rainforest. Yeah, with your children, surrounded by a variety of it's a rainforest. It's just magical, because at a glance you're looking at about 50 or 60 different types of flora and little fauna that you may not even be able to identify. It's really something else. When you're there, it's just something else. You're surrounded by bamboo, cane creepers, and you're with your children on this walk. And next slide, please. That is the Namdapa National Park and Tiger Reserve. I mean, it's been described as ethereal. It's been described as enthralling. It's the massive size of it that is just, it's also considered Asia's one of the last remote wilderness areas of Asia. And it's in the Indo-Myanmar border. The beauty of this sanctuary or reserve, as you call it, is that it is the sheer expanse of space. It's full of dense forest, high mountains, full of forest. The forest, some of the trees, you get tired of. I keep asking the naturalist, what's this tree? What's that tree? What's this? What's that? Because there's so many that you've never seen before. In fact, they're still discovering more and more. In the upper region, they're still finding out some flora and fauna that don't grow anywhere else, and they don't belong anywhere else. It's still fascinating. So imagine you're in this forest, you're walking, and another beauty of this is the high mountains, and it's dissected by rivers everywhere. And the river, they don't have a sand bank. They are all stone, little pebbles, because they've been smoothened by all the water flowing over them over time. The next slide, please. As you're walking along, you're admiring all the beauty. And the one of the things that will strike you when you're doing this walk is the different varieties of fern. There'll be small ones, as small as a blade of grass, and big, like bigger than you and me. They're amazing. There are about 50 shades of green that you'll be walking through. And I'm not lying. There may be more, actually. So imagine when you're admiring all of this, yeah? And suddenly your guide says, shh, look up. There's a great Indian hornbill that's perched right on top of you. It's a magical moment. Is this the kind of travel you're interested in? I hope so. Yeah. In the link, in the chat, please share what are the travel memories that you have or you want to have. We can chat about it later. That'll be nice. Thank you. Now, Nandapa National Park and Tiger Reserve is, as I said, it's one of the last remote regions to go there. And when people have walked with us, we walk in the periphery. They allow you to walk in the periphery. You walk, we do the Haldi Basti route. It's a moderate trek. It's about 4 to 5 hours for people who are reasonably fit, And lots of people have described it as meditative. People have said that, they felt inner peace. Of course, the air is very clean. Some people have said, oh, the silence. Now, a rainforest is never very silent. There's at least the constant cicadas at it. There will be some sound of rushing water somewhere in the background. There will be a few bird calls in between. But yes, you're away. There's no houses or satellite towers or a radio, which is very common in most rural areas, blaring at you. And the forest rangers and your local naturalists are very apt. They know the area very well. And this particular route is patrolled very well. So there's no faunas that land up and surprise you. Can I have the next slide, please? Well, as adults say it's meditative and they felt recharged, but children have a different story to tell when they do this walk. And this is literally what children have told me. They said the highlights have been skipping stone on the near Dehing River, spotting Himalayan squirrels. Next slide, please. Walking over bamboo bridges. This is a highlight for children. They love it. And, in the distance in the picture, you'll see these tall trees. They're the hulong trees. They grow to a height of about 45 meters. And it's specific in that region. You get them in Burma also. And, children are fascinated. Everybody's fascinated by how beautiful. They look so majestic, this tall trees. And you suddenly see a gibbon right on top there. Yeah. In fact, there's a park that's named after these trees in Jorhat, which is famous for gibbon spotting. Yeah. So you've done this walk. You've finished your 4 hours or 5 hours, whatever you do. You come down to the riverside or a scenic spot where you can actually perch yourself. You sit down, you have a snack that we provide you. We provide fruit, we provide juice, or especially made, we get these energy bars, a particular size made for our guest. So you're doing that. Then you head back. You head back to Meow, where your guest house probably is, which is a 45-minute drive back. And because it's Christmas Day, can I have the next slide, please? We'll go to a restaurant where that is the view, the river down and the eastern Himalayan hills overlooking. It's a fantastic place to be there for lunch. Yeah. And at the restaurant grounds, there would be a fete because it's Christmas Day, right? And this was really what happened to us in the Christmas of 2022. We were there. And a whole bunch of us with children, all of us were there. And it's very festive. The whole atmosphere was very festive. The locals had set up a fair with a lot of buntings and, all the little banners, and there was music, and there were little flowers thrown scattered here and there. There were a lot of little counters, some with woven textile, some with handmade souvenirs. And there were a lot of local snacks. That was very popular with all of us. Local snacks, there were certain local meals you could buy. There were a lot of homemade cakes and juices also. And of course, live music. That's what really makes it. Next slide, please. This is also from the scene. I just took one corner from near the restaurant. In this, let me see if you can spot it. There's something that's now become very common, whether it's a remote village or a chic city center. Can you spot it? Well, it's the selfie point. Now it's become universal. Wherever you are, there'll be a selfie point. Yeah. So this is how we put our tours together. In a nutshell, for us, sustainable travel that we offer are three things that we look for. Is that it's highly curated to the interest of our clients, and it must benefit the local communities, because they are the ones who are the guardian of that land. And a certain element of the magical for guests through small immersive activities. And I hope you felt it too while watching this. Thanks. Thank you. Thank you, Yash.
What a lovely journey. Thank you for taking us through that. Thank you very much. And like you said, my favorite memories are of Arunachal, but it's a Siang River. And I would very much love to see this part of Miao. I hear there in Miao that they have this wonderful, the red panda, which hops between Miao and China. I would love to meet one and encounter one on my way there. But coming back to this conversation, I would love to discuss, you mentioned food as an integral part of your travel. Food is an integral part of any travel. Can you take us through a food trip or how you curate a cuisine-based trip? Like, I remember you mentioned something about food fuel.
Yes,
That made me
we
curious.
do. Food trips are quite, they're becoming quite popular now. And we look at different parts of food. It's not just going and eating food. It's also you go see how it's made, how it's grown, the organic. Because there, a lot of the farms, a lot of the small farmers especially, they don't have the budget of buying big chemical fertilizers, which is a godsend actually. And they buy a lot of, they make their own organic fertilizers. So we take you there. And also there are a lot of homemade products, pickles, juices, powders, which we take you to. Yash, can I have the slideshow number 4, please? Okay, now we're going to go to a different part of the Northeast. Let's travel towards West Assam and the Garo district of Meghalaya. The Khasi Hills are very popular. That's where Shillong is. But this is in the western part. And the tribe that lives there are the Garo tribes. And that's why the hills are named Garo Hills there. So it's about a 4 or 5 hour drive from Guwahati Airport to reach Tura. That's the final destination. And on the way, we'll be stopping maybe a night or maybe two near Manas Sanctuary. And that's the homeland of the Bodo tribe. The Bodos are the original inhabitants of this land. And they trace their origins back to Tibet. And, when you're in their paddy fields and you're in the villages, you'll see these hills at a distance. There's Bhutan. There's the low hills of Bhutan. And see, this picture I put specifically because yesterday was Bihu. Bihu is like Sankranti or Pongal. It is, we celebrate Bihu yesterday. This is how the Bodos dress for Bihu. This is how they were wearing yesterday. The ladies, the wrap that the ladies wear is called a dokana. And their food is very, because they grow a lot of things there on their own. And like, even if they offer you a thing like a fish, right? So they'll do many things with it. They'll have like a dry fry, they'll have a gravy, they'll do another like a chutney, and similarly with vegetables. pumpkin. If like we take a pumpkin, they'll put the pumpkin in a dal. They'll put it in a, dal is a lentil soup for those of you you're not familiar with it. They'll make a paste. They even make fritters. So everything, there are many versions of it. And they'll also have, and all of these are normally the side dishes. So more than the main meal, you'll have about 8 or 9 side dishes that go along with that. Then another stop we'll do. Next slide, please. This is Dharangiri. Now, very, very few people know this, but this is the site of the largest banana market in Asia. Yeah, it's in Assam.
Oh,
And
wow.
their monthly turnover, I'm told, is about 4 crores.
Oh my God,
Watch what happened here.
that's
What happened?
about half a million out of
Yeah,
out of raw
imagine.
bananas.
Yeah, it's the next I think above them is South America, or sorry, no, yeah, somewhere in South America, and they're the next over there. So if you go there early morning, you know, it's a chaos. There are trucks all over the place. There are coolies loading up. There are agents and farmers all helter-skelter, scuffling on what the rate for the day should be, all of this. But we got there a little late. And so did these 4 boys you can see in the picture. They got a little late too, and they missed the big trucks. So they are looking a little bit morose for themselves. We got there and we started walking around. They have these, for people who miss the bus or they have to pluck early, there are these godowns, the large bamboo structure godowns where you store and then it's padlocked. So they were hanging around and we said, oh, where do you all come from? Most like them, most people bring they bring about a couple of bunches in their cycles to the mandi. And the boys were sort of like, hey, listen, we missed the thing. Y'all, where are you going? Y'all came in car, no? Why don't y'all take from us? You can sell it we're going to Guwahati. You'll get a good price. Take it to Guwahati. Unfortunately, we had no space for it. We did buy one big bunch from them and we gave it to our driver who was very happy to take it home. He was going back to his village the next day after our trip was ending and he was very happy to take it back with him. So this was happened there. Can I have the next slide, please? Well, agrarian societies, they're
Just
very
sorry to interrupt. Out of curiosity, do tell me, what do you make out of green bananas? What would anybody make out of green bananas?
Oh, well, they do cutlets. They mash the banana, they boil it, mash it with potatoes, they make cutlets. We call in Assam it's called pitika. It's a mash. It's like a chutney that you have it on the side. So that's another thing they do. They also make curries out of banana, raw banana.
Amazing. Now this
Yeah,
is called the food
yeah,
fuel
it
tour
is. It's
with
a
a
food field
reason.
too.
Thank you.
Yeah. I actually put this side. This got a little bit, not so much with food, but it's an interesting story on this one trip that we did. So we reached the Garo Hills, and we said, okay, let's go. We went to someone's house or we went to this particular village for lunch. And my guests were walking around and, they'd gone to see the orchard because the Garos are very good farmers and they grow a lot of cash crop. They grow pepper, they grow pumpkins, they grow cashew. Their cashew is very sweet because the sand content is very low, so it's very sweet, which I didn't know earlier actually. And that region grows a lot of different types of lemon in that thing. So, and getting back to the picture, so my guests were wandering around. I sat down. I always carry a sketch pad with me. So I sat down to sketch. And there was a lovely house opposite. So I sat to sketch the house opposite. And from that house, a gentleman came out and he came and he walked all over and he came and stood next to me. And he was like, what you doing? And like, I'm sketching. And he said, oh, it looks nice. Are you good at it? I said, well, I'm trying. What do you think? And I just did a rough scribble. He looked at me very seriously and he said, listen, it took me 3 months to put up that roof. You better do a good drawing of it. You know, so these are the little banter that happens sometimes.
That's so cute.
That happens.
Your
And
art has to meet my art.
yeah, your art has to meet my art, definitely. You're not getting away so lightly with just a little twiddle. Can I have the next slide, please? So one of the things that I try to do with most of my tours is connect it to a local festival because the festivals are really the heart and soul of the region. Not very. I mean, the hornbill is nice and it's it's the, but it's even small festivals like this. It's the Wangala festival that happens every year near Tura. It's the Garo tribes come together for it, and it's in November. It's also known as the Festival of the 100 Drums because about 100 drummers come into the stage. It's normally in a ground and they go around in circles and then they play. You can see their drums, they're all homemade drums. And every year, 10 villages participate. The youth come from these 10 villages and it's a rotation. It'll be first set of these villages today, next set of villages. I'm not sure exactly how they choose the villages, but they have a rotation so that, everybody gets a chance to perform in alternate years. And it's very elaborate, and it's the whole atmosphere is of a carnival.
I'm going to
You see
interrupt again.
how
So I've been
beautiful they're
both
dressed.
to Hornbill and I've been to Wangala.
Yeah. Oh, how lovely is that? So you've
And I
seen
must tell you that Wangala had me breathless. The
it is.
costumes.
And that's mainly because the local community comes together so well.
Bingo, you're right. It's the locals that have come together to create
Yeah.
that synergy. So please expound on that a little more before we go back into the Bangala. And guys,
Yeah,
be
it's that
ready for
little
that
thing
resonating beat of 100 drums. When they mean 100 drums, they mean 100 drums.
yeah,
And
there's
it's
a
a great
100 drummers there. You could actually literally, I've had one guest who's actually counted them all. And it's easy to count because each village is color coded in their thing. So this, I think they're from the Silbaga village. The girls wear orange and red with green, and the boys are wearing green and blue. And it's really interesting. I'll give you an example. When you're there, they'll all pull you up and say, "Hey, come, come," because they get very few tourists. There are a lot of visitors, but they're local that come. It's throbbing with local people and they love visitors. So they pull you up and they'll show you and they'll say, okay, see, there's even the simple thing like dustbin. Somebody comes and see, you like the dustbin? Because they all, they actually they split the bamboo and then they put a basket in between. He'd say, I put it together. That sense of pride. Somebody will say, hey, I contributed a rice because they welcome guests with rice cakes. And that region, we all have liquor. We all call it tea, just tea without milk or sugar. It's called lalsa. So they'll welcome guests with that. And somebody say, I contributed my a bag of rice for this. Those little stories that come in, the pride they say. And at the end of the procession, sometimes I think these boys get a little bit tired. So they'll pull up guests and say, hey, now you carry my drum and play it for me. And somebody say, come, I'll teach you some steps. It's that sense of that, it's mine. It's mine. I like this. Even they have a little museum that they put up there. And they'll all keep pulling you. Come. See, I've given this, I've given that. This was my grandfather's harp. They had these bamboo harps that sound, actually from a distance, they sound like drums when they play them. Or somebody is given these carved, very ornate wooden frames. Like things like that, musical stuff. Or they'll trace you back to when the missionaries first came to them. It's all of this that happens. So it's a lot of interaction that happens because they are the ones that have to put it together. And the other thing that is really, really nice about festivals, and this is, I think, around the world, but especially here when there's local festivals, are the marketplaces that happen. The marketplaces that happen here are really special. And to me, this was a really special one because, jackfruit, it's a really underused Indian vegetable. Yeah, getting back to the food part. But they had done so much with it. They had made juice, they had made cake, I mean, jackfruit cake, and it was really tasty actually. And it didn't have that heaviness of a jackfruit, the aroma. And it had the curries, they had chips, they had even made a malt powder with jackfruit. They can have it, mix it with milk and have. They were, of course, selling all sorts of, because it's for caters to a local market. They have a lot of stuff like your kitchen utensils that are made there, different types of knives. Amazing. There's a knife to shell, which is slightly rounded, to shell lemon, which I didn't know. I mean, I'd never seen it earlier. And this is where you pick up your little treasures. I picked up these earrings there. This thing. But you can even pick up like artifacts, beautiful pattern baskets, elaborate headwear. All these things are there for you to pick up and see. And that's when the community comes together, and they've also created especially for that festival. And they've given everybody designated jobs to do. The council is always, they go around with the big badges and they keep inviting you to walk around with them and, have a glass of bichi. Bichi is the local brew there. They'll invite you for that. So this is when you get that sense of community, when everybody's involved and everybody's trying to pull you in different directions. Yeah, that's how nice it is, you know.
May I
And
interrupt for a second on the food subject? If any of you watch MasterChef India or even MasterChef Global, you
yeah,
will know that the last 3 years, the winners have been from Meghalaya in the Northeast.
yeah,
Even this year, it was a young Meghalayan chef who was a
yeah. She's
teacher in,
Garo actually.
she's
She's
Garo,
Garo,
yes, she's
Nambi.
Garo.
Yeah, Nambi. In
And
fact, she just sent me some lovely mulberry pickle.
oh
She's
my
made
God,
mulberry pickle. She's
she's the
packaged
pickle
very well.
queen. Yeah,
I'm very impressed by the youngsters who are getting, becoming entrepreneurs in the Northeast. They're figuring out, because packaging was always a big problem in the Northeast. And
true.
they're managing to get things all over. They're like, don't worry, we'll do it. This is, when social media has opened up and online
Please do
marketing.
share Namdi's address with all of us. We all want a
I will,
picture
I will, I will, I will definitely,
on,
I will
on
put
this
it, yeah, I'll put it in
platform, on
my
this
feed.
platform, with all of us. And the young chef from Shalsa. I mean, even Marco Pierre White once had a tasting of his cuisine and said, this is world class. So when you go to the Northeast, be prepared to treat yourself and come back a few pounds lighter, but still much more fuller, because the North Indian cuisine, the Northeastern cuisine is healthy. It is robust. It is tasty. It is so contemporary. It requires a very subtle taste and palate. But most importantly, it keeps you fit. The hills keep, pardon me, the hills keep you walking. Trust me on that one. The hills keep
Yeah,
you
they do. Let me take you on. So after you've had like an elaborate session at the festival, can I have the next slide, please? Yes. This is a walk we did in the Selbagre Holo Gibbon Reserve. So early morning, and you have to set out early. This is one thing in the Northeast you can't get around, is that you have to set out early, especially when you want to spot wildlife. And the gibbons, you have to go into the forest early because then you spot them. Otherwise, later you'll hear them crackling and a lot of chitter chatter, all of them that they do, but they would have gone up into the canopy. Once they go into the canopy and they're covered by leaves, it's very hard to spot them. That's why we go out early. And this is in the forest. You can see the guests. Everybody's so happy because it's so lovely. The little streams, the forest is there. And the beauty about this reserve is that it's protected by the villagers living around. So probably after the walk, we will go into one of the villages and have a cup of tea and maybe a little snack that they offer us. And invariably, the discussion comes back to how do you manage to protect these monkeys and farm? Don't they come and spoil your farm? Don't they do this? Don't they do that? And they've always, the answers are ones that, they're always very pregnant in the sense. They'll turn around and say, yeah, I know that, I plan the 30% of my fruits they will take. Or somebody told me once that, I do two kinds of planting. I plant one closer to the forest for the gibbons, and I plant one closer to my home for myself. So they kind of work this out. If for some reason we couldn't take you to the reserve forest, or sometimes the gibbons also move, there's a lovely, the forest department there is very active. They built a little rescue center. Yeah. And the rescue center is very well maintained, and the large cages that they have with trees inside. And I were like, oh, where did you rescue them? I thought maybe, from the forest something fell or they were sick. They said, no, no, no. These are from people's home because people have taken little monkeys and they try to make them into pets.
You
So
mean
we talk to the
gibbons?
villagers and we get them back,
Oh, you
and
mean gibbons?
they rehabilitate them in the center and then finally release them into the wild.
Oh, how beautiful is that?
Yeah, it's really beautiful, and they do a very good job. And they have a box there, so they
Just can I
don't charge
interrupt for a
you.
second? I'm sorry, I'm
Sorry,
interjecting.
carry on.
So, just for those who know, I've got two questions that have come on my Facebook. One is, how early do you have to get up? So I guess that's someone like me who's a late riser. And the second one is, what is a gibbon? By the way, gibbon is as close to walking to a human being as there is. So you can see gibbons who walk on 2 feet. They actually walk on 2 feet, and they are part of our primate family. And they're as close to you as they can be, as close to humans as they can be. They're realistic. They'll come, they play with your hair. They definitely want the banana or the biscuit in your hand. So that's what a gibbon is, just answering the people who've asked. I'm sorry, Julie, to have interrupted your train
No,
of
no,
thought.
no, that's great.
Please go
That
back.
I'm glad you did it because I'm not actually not watching the thing. Okay, early morning. See, the sun rises in the east at about 4:45 in the morning. In fact, the tea gardens, and this is from the colonial days of the tea plantations, we follow something called the garden time, which is 1 hour ahead because of the labor laws, which are still there from those days. The labor can't start work before 6 o'clock, the tea labor. So, so they started what's called a garden time, which is 1 hour ahead, so that the labor could start work. Everybody could start, not just the labor, everybody could start work at 5. Yeah. But don't worry, we're not going to send you out at 5 in the morning, but you need to start at about 6:45 so that you get there by 7 to see them. Yeah. Also, the sun sets around 4:45, so we have long evenings. Yeah. And that's when what we do. Can I have the next slide, please? We take you to people's homes. And you would have, and especially in a food, when you're doing a food tour, it's good to see food that's cooked in the very rustic way. It's good to try it out in the restaurants, excuse me, in the fairs, your street food thing. It's also great to actually visit people in their homes, especially great cooks like Christina. She's a fabulous cook. She and her husband are both fabulous cooks. And in their home, you'll get to taste a variety of Garo dishes and some twists. They've taken local ingredients and they've twisted it. Excuse me. To
Please, why don't you have some water? Please
yeah, I
take
will
a drink and
definitely.
have some water.
And they've given it that twist. So it's very light on the flavor. It's interesting. And when, and we spend a lot of time talking about food, and then, she's got a whole list of places that you can buy online. If you're in India, places you can buy from in online. And excuse me, there's a lot of
Please take a minute. Just take a minute. Have some
sorry
water.
about that.
No, no, it happens. We've been making you talk for the last 1 hour, so please.
No,
Thank you
I
for your
should
company.
no, I've been actually rehearsing so that I don't speak too fast.
How charming. So please drink
Yeah.
some water.
Okay. So
And
and this probably will happen towards the end of your tour when you actually go to people's homes and eat. And of course, there'll be the freshly brewed bichi to keep you company in this. Yeah. So this is what a food tour looks like.
you mentioned something very interesting. Please have a couple of sips of water while I take the audience to this. I would really like to tell you that when they talk about um, superfood, when they talk about food that's of the finest quality, they mean it. Um, some of the Northeastern food is of the finest quality, is almost gourmet cuisine. Similarly, when we see a lot of crafts and weaving villages, let me also tell you, there is the subtleness of the Northeastern colors also come through their designers. And I'd like Julie to take us on a design or a high quality retail experience, because there are a lot of designers who are also creating interventions, just like the cooks who've been creating interventions and are actually baking the glass ceilings. This would be a nice way to know where the creativity, just like the cuisine, where's the creativity of Northeast India going?
No, that's a topic. Thank you for bringing that up. It's a topic very close to me, and I've just put a few slides together, because can I have another slide, the number 2, please? Yes. I've always been very curious, where did this influences come from? I think cultural history is something that I've been very fascinated by. Because, in the East, we trace, okay, this one is from Tibet, this tribe came from Central Asia, somebody else came from, so the Thai tribes, and especially when we talked about Namdapa earlier, In that region, that's East Arunachal and East Assam, these tribes are called the Thai tribes that came from the Burmese-Thai border. They came in the footsteps of the Ahom kings. The Ahom kings ruled Assam for about 600 years. They were very good administrators. They kept the Mughals at bay, but they lost to the British. They couldn't handle the gunpowder. So the Thai tribes brought a lot of interest. When you spend time in their villages, you realize that the Orient, how did the Oriental influence come into the Indian culture? You'll see it very apparently there. This is a picture of a Tangsa tribeman preparing tea. Just give me a second, please. I'll just join you back. Hmm. Sorry.
Welcome back.
Yeah, sorry. The interesting thing about the Thai tribes is that in most of their gardens they grow tea. There'll be 2 or 3 bushes of tea, and they pluck it. They either use it green or they sun dry it, and then they smoke it in bamboo baskets. And like the gentleman is doing, they stuff it into a bamboo sleeve and they boil it. The tea is slightly bitter. They serve it to you in little bamboo cups, normally after a meal. And it was one of them, the Thai Simpos, who introduced tea to the British. Robert Bruce in 1823, I think that's the year, yes, 1823, is when through the Divan, the Moniran Divan was the Divan of the Ahom kings, and he sent a message to him, to Robert Bruce, because he heard that Robert Bruce was in Calcutta trying to make inwards, where he could buy tea saplings. Because the British at that point had tried to source tea saplings in China and they just couldn't get it. And somebody somewhere, the whispers had come that, oh, this in Assam, near Assam, you could go. This region was never a part. Arunachal was never a part of Assam. It was always separate. So he got word, and Muriram Dewan was a very crafty man. He sent word to Robert Bruce, okay, I want some ammunition. In return, I will introduce you to somebody who will give you tea saplings. And he sent them to the Thai Simpu chiefs, who I think they were given ivory excuse me, in exchange of the tea saplings. So that's one, that's where the tea came from. Next slide, please. I talked about, when going into the village and having a meal. When you are and I talked about the Garo food, but when you're in the east, suppose, one day when you're in Namdapa, you've done a walking, you've gone to the fair, the next day you wanted to relax. We'll take you to a village for lunch. And of course, the tea that you just saw. The use of bell metal, it finds its origin from the Orient. Yeah. And now, not of the Northeast region uses bell metal. We steam our rice in leaves, which gives it a fragrant taste, comes from there. And it's not in this picture, but normally these plates are put on exquisitely crafted bamboo trees. It's a must to this region for architects, people who are product designers, fashion designers, or people who just like design, and you like to see where things come from. I highly recommend it. Can I have the next slide, please? This is a homestead of a Thai Partake tribe that I really love. Look at it. What's not to like about that? Their village, their villages are really beautiful. They're very well planned and laid out. This house, if you see, it's surrounded by arecanut trees, fruit trees, and toko palm. Toko palm is what's used for the roof. And the feature, one of the details that is very particular to them is the braiding that happens right on top. You can see in the picture of the roof. That's what they do. And they all grow their own toko palm. And that's really sustainable, isn't it? To grow your own roof, which gets replaced, I think, every 4 years they replace, 4 or 5 years. Parts of it get replaced because that region also gets a lot of rain. And the homes are on stilts. In my presentation, I had talked about mini ecosystem. This is one. And the woman will be weaving underneath. The granaries are underneath. The animals are reared on the side. And around the house, they grow a lot of plants. One of the things I find common in there, they grow a lot of ground orchids. And there's always a green patch in front, where they in the evenings meet guests or the host festival, whatever. And when you walk around the village, there'll be strategically placed beautiful bamboo benches. Mostly the older people of the village sit around, and they're always happy to get hold of you for a chat. This is a very charming village, and you'll just enjoy walking through this village, because you're taking pictures and everything is like that wow moment in the village. And can I have the next slide, please? Another thing about the Thai tribes that to me is very special is they wear a lot of their own traditional clothes all the time. They have specific clothes for, of course, functions, and all of us wear it now. But even in the daily wear, the men wear these sarongs. They could be checked or striped, purple and green. The women wear more colorful. You can see it in the picture. They're pink with yellow, blue stripes in them, you know. And it's really beautiful to see a whole village of people walking around in these sarongs. These are the things that, where you can pick up as a design person. You automatically pick up on it. They're really beautiful, these little moments of it. Thank you. Yes, you can. It's okay.
Wow, that was quite a journey. Thank you. It's a rarely known, totally unexplored part of India that we have just come through. And thank you for taking us on this enchanting journey, Julie, and to the to the multiple different and diverse landscapes of Northeast India. We feel very special as your guests.
Thank
Um,
you so much. I'm sorry for the little hiccup moment,
oh,
but
please.
it's yeah, and I hope most of you will visit. It's really, I mean, there's a lot more. This is just one part of it and a little bit that I showed you. There's more to explore.
I am absolutely sure this is just the tip of the iceberg. And just for those out of curiosity, do you know that it is Arunachal Pradesh that produces the most expensive tea in the world? When you
Yes.
go to the tea auctions, the tea that gets the most money is Arunachal Pradesh's either silver tip or gold tip. And these tips are grown in Pasighat, in Siang, in Nampatad, and all these places. And it's fairly cost effective to travel here. But I would highly recommend you find a guide like Julie because you cannot do this on your own just yet. And welcome to the non-explored Northeast. I hope you had a great journey with us at Rice Tours. And Julie, can you please drop your email and number in the contact, please?
I will. I'll do that. Thank you so much.
Or it's all available. Julie's future tours are going to be available in the resources deck of the Unknown Planet. Please reach out and have a look at what you think you can do. Julie has two other things that she'd like to discuss. I know, but it slipped her memory right now. One is about her passion for creating travel for the young ones, the little feet travel. I'd like her to discuss that. And the second is what she does, where she actually integrates creating special events with local festivals, where she will be talking again in the near future. And I'm going to give her the floor once again to close it with these 2 points.
Thank you, Sonia. Actually, both are related. I just feel that when we talk about sustainable travel space, we have to address the future. And what better than little children? We call it the little road travel. And the Namdapa walk that I showed you was a part of that. We have many other programs. We do a pre-monsoon trip to Meghalaya, where we go through caves, we go near waterfalls with children, because I feel they are the future, you know. and and when you bond with your children on travel, and the two with other people who are also bonding with their children, and or the children get together and you put all these fun activities together, it stays with them. When you grow, it stayed with me. I grew up like that. And look at me, I've come back. I exposed my children to it. Now my children are becoming, they're becoming a little bit of, they consider themselves experts. They come and tell me, no, 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 this is not for curtain call adventure. Sorry, sorry. That walk is not good. There were no things, somebody threw waste down there. Or that homestay, no, no, no. They just didn't talk to us. Nobody will spend time talking to us or some silly things like that. But they are now beginning to sense it. And I can see this with other children traveling with us now. They get excited. They've heard of a rhino. They've actually uh, seen one. They're meeting people, not just that, they're meeting people who look after rhinos. We get them to meet forest officers. We take them to the Tipi Interpretation Center, and there's a whole world of what is a rainforest. Even I didn't know. The definition of a rainforest is there has to be 4 canopies. That's what a rainforest is. It's things like that. When they do this, that makes sense. And well, my all my learning that I've done in the travel space is that to be conscious about the environment takes 3 of us. It takes us, the travel planners, the ones who promote travel. It takes the traveler. It's you, it's all of you listening to us now. And it takes the local community. All 3 of us have to come together. And that's why we promote a lot of local festivals, which you will be, please join us on the talk tomorrow. Yes, Sonia, what time is the talk tomorrow?
The talk is actually on the 18th.
Sorry, it's on the 18th.
Yes, it's on the 18th, and it's titled, in a very apt way, "It Takes a Village to Create a Festival." Erica Migam was a young girl who decided that she wanted to actually change the future of her village. And she felt that she would do it by creating an inclusive festival and saying to the world, "Hey guys, come right in." And that's what she did. Let's see how that journey goes. Let's see how her journey went and how did people turn up and what did they explore? How did they like it? So on that note, please join us on January 18th at the same time, 7 o'clock India time. I am dropping the link in the post, and you will have none other than our Julie Kagti, along with Erica Migam, discussing this wonderful experience of tours and how events and experiences like a locally owned festival can actually change the future of tourism and the future of the livelihood in a local destination. How you as travelers, how you as people who love nature can actually be changing the future. Thank you very much for your time, Julie. Thank you very much, Yash.
Thank you for having me here.
Thank you, Rise, for giving us this platform. And thank you very, very much, Yash, for taking us through this. A humble thank you, Julie. Without you, I mean, there would have been no such travel. Thank you for giving us such a beautiful window, a peep into an undiscovered part of India that is quality.
My pleasure. I hope it's excited everybody to get your bags packing. See you soon.
You.